Hi guys, thanks for finding your way to my video. Today I'm gonna make a video on step-by-step how I make my own carbon fiber shaft arrows at home from just raw shafts. And maybe I'll try to make a quick explanation to why the benefits of making my own arrows. I've been shooting this Matthews V3X33 bow since it came out about 1.5 years ago. And I started with VAP Victory arrows, and I have a sight that's calibrated and adjustable from 20 to 100 yards, and it has this metal etched engraved sight tape or yardage tape. And so no matter what yardage I dial it to, between 0 and 100 and maybe 110 yards, it's completely accurate. So I realized I'm stuck with the same arrow after that, or an arrow that's exactly the size and weight. So what I started shooting with it is a VAP Victory Elite 400 spine, stock length about 32 inches, and I got a dozen, and my sight tape, I swapped sight tapes until I got a perfect accuracy at all ranges, and I'm really super happy with it. Then I moved to Thailand and I can't get these arrows, and I started running out of arrows, and then I decided, well, I have to try to see if I can make something that's exactly this weight and diameter and, you know, close enough spine weight and shaft weight per inch. So because this arrow is somewhere around 23 grams of weight. So, and it's this thin diameter that the VAP comes in. So what I did was shopped in Thailand. I got myself some shafts, and I started with a dozen of these, and they're pretty precision, and I measured them on my arrow spine instrument over here, and the spine weight is exactly around 500, which is what my 50-pound bow, my bow's set to 50 pounds, so 500 spine is perfect for this, even though I was shooting 400, which I knew was a little on the stiff side. So in order to get the same grains per inch, which is about 7.9 grains per inch, I had to, for these available shafts in Thailand, I had to go down to the 500 spine, and I checked them out, and I spine aligned them, and I measure every one of them with my spine measurement tool, and to get them precision and spine aligned. So, all right. Here I have my homemade arrow spine measurement tool. It's birch wood that I cut up in little pieces and fashioned after some that I saw on YouTube. Mostly people make them out of plywood or sheet metal, and just consists of basically ball bearings at each end that support the arrow. Which these are roller skate wheel bearings for like roller blades. And then there's what typically they would call a dial indicator, but that would be analog, but this is a digital one. It's kind of hard to see in the camera, but there you have it. Little digital indicator, and it has almost an inch travel, and it measures in thousandths of an inch. So 500 arrow spine would be a half an inch, so it would be 0.500, 500 thousandths of an inch. 500 thousandths of an inch deflection down would be 500 spine arrow. So a 400 spine arrow gives you 400 thousandths of an inch deflection once you hang the weight on there. So these have to be 28 inches apart where you're supporting the arrow, and it is from the inside of these bearings. So once the arrow bends, it's actually resting on the edge, the inside edge of those, and it's exactly 28 inches, and this is set to come straight down onto the middle of the arrow. Now, one thing I did was, most of these indicators, this being a digital indicator, not a dial indicator, had a spring built into them, like a spring. So it wasn't linear. Like the farther up you went, the more pressure on the spring there was. There was a little spring in there. I removed it. So now it's linear, and it's always about 2 grams, whatever it is, 2.5 grams of weight from the weight of this little indicator shaft that moves. So we've added that weight to the weight of the counterbalance, and we came up with the exact number that's required to do this instrument. I think it's 888 or something grams total. We'd have to look that up. Maybe I'll put a link in the bottom in the comments section with maybe the specifications for this. Alright, so here we have it. So this can do 2 things. So basically it's an arrow spine indicator. So I can measure the spine of this arrow shaft. It's a raw shaft. So in order to do that, I try to zero this out when the weight of the indicator just touches the arrow. Like the 2 grams brings it down just a 2/1000th of an inch basically. So I try to zero it out right when it's touching. And so it starts with 5/1000ths of an inch because there's already weight pressing down on the arrow. And then the next thing I do is hang the weight from it very carefully without bouncing things around. So now it's basically measuring 512/1000ths of an inch, even 0.5. So it goes to a 1/2,000th of an inch. So to find the spine, I slowly rotate the shaft around about every 10 degrees and stop and read it. And I try to find the smallest number. 507, that's going to be about there's 505, 506, 506. Now it's starting to go back up again. So I could go all the way around in 10 degree or 20 degree movements just to make sure I didn't miss it. 7. So basically the spine weight of this shaft is 507. Alright, so that's how I check the spine weight, and this arrow is supposed to be 500, and it says here 003, but I thought I bought arrows shafts that were 0.006 or better, less for the bend. So how you do that is just about the same way, just to measure the straightness of the arrow. Then I just have the 2 grams of weight from this little indicator shaft and rotate it around with my thumb, looking for the biggest deviation. So we don't know where it was. It starts out now, it's negative 0.002. So I could look for the largest negative number. Maybe that's about it, maybe negative 0.003. So I'll zero it out again and turn it around in 10 degree increments. Now it's 0.007. If I get any negative numbers, I'm going to zero it out. So I had a 0.5, negative 0.5. So I'm zeroing it out. That might be the limit of down or negative. So I'm going to keep on turning it until I see the biggest positive number. 6, 7. So I've got 0, 0, 7.5. 7.5 thousandths of an inch. So almost 8. And so that's what this arrow comes out to be, but now it's being bent a little bit by the 2 grams. So basically this shaft, it had to be at least 0.006 or better. And it's about that. I'm getting 0.0075. Okay, so another nice piece of equipment for archery that I made myself is that draw board down here at the bottom of my tool bench. It's pretty heavy duty, and I saw it's a copy of something that somebody on YouTube made and showed how to do it. So I've got that, and that comes in real handy for building new bows and doing tune-ups, or checking the synchronizing the cams on the compound bow, and lots of other things. And then my must-have tool is my Easy Green bow press. Okay, I rigged my bow press to be an arrow cutter by just strapping my Milwaukee 18-volt angle grinder right onto the left-handed arm there, and with a nice little thin carbon cutoff wheel. So it's all set. All I have to do is hold the arrow up, butt it against the inside of this arm, and then lower it down onto the cutting wheel right here and give it a little turn, and I get a really nice square cut. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, so I previously just cut 24 of my new shafts for this project, and the next step is to take them over to the spine alignment or spine measuring tool. All right, gonna do spine align a couple arrows here in my 24 arrow build. Got my weight all set, and I zeroed out the caliper, and this arrow is supposed to be 500 spine, and it's right at 510 spine. So to find where the spine is aligned, I'm going to turn it 10 degrees at a time until I get to the smallest number. 506, 509, 513, 518, so I have to go back around, keep going until I get back down to the low number. Turning about 10 degrees at a time. There's 507, and it goes 508, it's starting to go back up, so I'm going to back up a couple times. 507.5, 508.5. So just turning it clockwise and counterclockwise until I get to the smallest number, which is 507.5. Some are ranging about that size, spine weight 510. These are supposed to be 500, and then other ones are a little under, like 490. spine weight. So I'm holding the pen with my fingers on both sides so that I can just carefully put it down on the arrow and ride it along and make a nice silver straight line right on the top facing up, and that's the spine. That's the toughest, least amount of bend of the arrow. Sometimes you can rotate it 180 degrees and it seems like it stiffens up on that side, but there's always one side or the other that's going to be the stiffest part of the arrow. So that to me is the spine, and I'll probably have it facing up on my compound bow. Alrighty, we're back at the workbench here with 24 arrow shafts that we want to finish putting together for our new batch of arrows. And so far we just cut the 24 shafts all the same length, somewhere around 30.5 inch long, and then spine aligned them. We found the spine and we made a nice alignment mark. We also checked them for spine weight, and so the next step is to put the knock in there, the fletching, and glue in the inserted tips. So I have some regular small diameter shaft glue in tips that glue in with the hot glue, and I have my fletchings here and some small diameter knocks. So all I had to do is just line up my knock so that the arrow, the string of the arrow, when it aligns the shaft, the spine mark will be up. If I have them all either up or down consistently, I'll get good clean shots. So at that point, I've got my knock in, I just pushed it in, lined it up, and then I inserted into this Bitzenburger jig. So the Bitzenburger jig seems to be the most popular one. It has an indent. This one's for 3 fletchings, and it has an indent, so you turn it around like that, put a new fletch on, and then turn it again, put a new fletch on. And in order to get my white fletching orientated the way I want it, I find that if I have the arrow inserted into the knock, there's like a knock down there that mucks a string, and it's plugged into that, so it's not going to turn now. And if I have my spine align mark just out, facing that direction, and then if I use my white fletch for the first one, it seems to work out pretty good for me. So all I have to do is put the fletching in, and in there I have a little magic marker mark that shows me where to put it on in here to line it up so that they're all lined up the same. And then about 2 drops of glue. Not too much. If it starts to spill over, it's going to glue itself to the jig. Okay, and then you put the bottom part of it in, touching the jig, and then let the magnets suck it on there, and then just push it down onto it, and making sure the arrow's seated into the knock. And then you just wait about 10 seconds and you can flick it over and do the next one. So the next one's going to be blue. Luckily these stick on pretty good. It's basically like super glue, but for the arrows. Alright, so I always open this up before I pull it off so that it doesn't rip the fletch off. Just like that. Now turn it 120 degrees and get ready. And do it again with a blue one. There we go. About 2 drops of glue. These are the 2-inch fletchings. There we go. settings, about 5 seconds. That'll do. Open it up, pull it out, rotate it 120 degrees, get another blue one ready. Couple drops of glue. Perfect. All right, I can see a tiny bit of glue trying to seep out beneath those fletchings. Sometimes I wipe it with a Q-tip or just leave it like it is. It's about 10 seconds. It's barely starting to stick now. I'll be very careful. Hopefully I don't have it fall off. Okay. Now, there we have a nicely fletched new arrow. So, the next step, just to finish this off, is this is going to be wet for a few minutes, so we want to make sure we don't lay it flat on the table, hang it over the edge or whatever, and then we have our tip to glue in. So dry fit that. It feels good. I use the hot glue. Got this low temperature melting hot glue that came with, for archery stuff. And what I do is I get myself a regular, like a barbecue lighter, and I put it down close in the blue part of the flame so I don't get soot all over this tip. And you never get the tip hotter than you can hold with your fingers. It's starting to get warm, and that's about it. Okay, it's barely hot now, so I'll just put that down and heat up the end of the glue stick until it looks like it's about to drip. Gets glossy. I want it to be, okay, drip a little bit. Now, just roll that arrow tip in there, get it nice and gooped up, and then it'll fill up all the air gaps. And I twist it in there. There we go. And I've got a little bottle of water hiding here off camera. And I put it in there, swirl it around for a few seconds, and that kind of cools it off fast enough to dry it up. And then you have like a little donut of glue that comes off, kind of squeezes out. You can just take your fingernail and scrape it off. Careful not to, it's still kind of hot or warm, so you can just basically get that little chunk of glue off. It's nice and clean now. And we have our new arrow ready to go here. So basically, just to check, I have my gram scale. And I'm trying to match these $20 VEP Victory arrows. Let's turn it on and get it to 0 and see how much this weighs. Okay, my VEP Victory arrow is 22.6 grams, and my new $3 arrow, I got 22.5 grams. So it's within 1/10 of a gram, the exact same weight as my $20 VEP Victory arrow, but I got this for about $4 or less actually. And it's a perfect arrow, ready to go out and shoot. Just want to thank you for sticking with this video. It's a long one, probably boring a little bit in the middle, but somebody may have gleaned some kind of knowledge and gave them the courage to go ahead and try and do this yourself. That's what I did. I watched some YouTube videos and I bought my equipment one piece at a time, trial and error, and always figuring out a better way until I got to this point. I have a technical background of building experimental airplanes and an electrical contractor for over 40 years, and I love the compound bows. That's just because they're so technical, and so every little challenge that comes with those I was really interested in, like changing your own strings and aligning the cams, whatever else, tuning it up. And so I'm located in an area of Thailand where there are no archery shops and there aren't any bow ranges per se within 2-hour drive of me. So if anybody's in Chanthaburi, central Chanthaburi, Thailand, and they need help with their compound bow, they can give me a message here and bring your bow over and let's get it all tuned up. Okay, great. Thanks a lot.